Welcome, Patriots, to this episode of Common Sense for America. I'm Bruce Rutherford, your host and commentator, coming to you from the beautiful Westwood Golf Club in Houston, Texas. Before we dive in today, I want you to imagine something that should disturb every American citizen to their core. Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that your vote, your voice in our democracy, counts for just 1/3 of your fellow Americans' vote. Not because of who you are, not because of what you believe, but simply because you live in a state with a small population. This isn't some hypothetical scenario, Patriots. It's happening right now in our Electoral College, and it's creating divisions that could tear our republic apart. You know, right here in Texas, where I'm sitting today, it takes more than 700,000 people to earn just one Electoral College vote. Texas has a total of 30 Electoral College votes, but up in Wyoming, they have 3. Think about that for a moment. Is it really what our founders intended? Now, stay with me on this, because understanding what's happening isn't just some academic exercise. It's about whether your grandchildren grow up in the same kind of republic we inherited from our parents. Now, let me share something that really caught my attention recently. Pew Research just completed a major study of how Americans feel about our Electoral College. And you know what they found? Nearly 2/3 of our fellow citizens, 63%, want to scrap this system entirely. But here's what's truly fascinating and deeply troubling. This isn't just about politics anymore. It's about the fundamental divide in how different Americans see democracy itself. Let me ask you something. When was the last time a presidential candidate actually came to your community? You know, in the last election, just 6 states got all the attention: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The National Archives tell us that these states saw 96% of all campaign events. 96%. If you're not living in one of those states, well, you probably didn't see much campaigning at all, did you? You know, back in 1787, when our founders gathered in Philadelphia, they were wrestling with some of the exact same problems that we're facing today. Their government then, under the Articles of Confederation, was too weak to handle the big issues that the nation encountered. Couldn't collect taxes, it couldn't manage trade, it couldn't even settle arguments between 2 different states. Everyone agreed we needed a stronger form of government. The Constitution that emerged from the Constitutional Convention in September of 1787 didn't satisfy anyone. It was called a bundle of compromises. One of the major compromises was the establishment of the Electoral College. Delegates from the South and West, led by Jefferson and Madison, were fearful that the large voting bloc in the big cities in the East would overwhelm the smaller voting bloc in the rural South and West. They feared this voting advantage would allow the East to pass laws detrimental to the rights and economy of the rural and agricultural South and West. Benjamin Franklin called this the tyranny of the majority, and said if it were not corrected, democracy in America would be lucky to last 200 years. Delegates from the East cited the ancient Greek city-states as perfect democracies and argued for settling everything by popular vote. Madison answered, saying America was geographically far larger and far more diverse than any example the Eastern delegates could offer, and that demanded a representative form of election that still reflected the population of each state and did not allow one region or voting bloc to dictate or enslave the balance of the nation. Enslaved was his word, not mine. Brilliant compromise was the result. The Electoral College was the result. Now today, the political parties of each state select a panel of Electoral College electors. The number of electors is equal to the number of senators and congresspersons from that state. Now, the state legislature chooses the panel of electors based on the outcome of the general election in their state. So if the Democrat won that state, the Democratic Party's panel of electors is chosen. All but 2 states, Nebraska and Maine, have all or nothing policies, meaning the candidate that wins the popular vote gets all the electoral votes from that state. Now, Nebraska and Maine have very rarely split their electoral votes. Now, this system is based on the popular vote, but gives more weight to the smaller states in order to protect them from the tyranny of the majority, as Franklin put it. Now, let's talk about what this means today. In California, you've got 39 million people with 52 electoral college votes. In Wyoming, at the other extreme, you have not even 600,000 people with 3 electoral college votes. That's a difference of 65 to 1 in population, but only 17 to 1 in electoral college votes. Our founders saw this coming. They were worried about protecting the rights of the people in small states like Wyoming. And patriots, they were right to be worried. Now, I want you to really think about this. Should just a handful of big cities, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, get to decide every presidential election? Should your choice in the heartland count for less than someone's on either coast? This isn't just some theoretical debate anymore. 15 states plus the District of Columbia have already joined what they call the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. They're pledging to each other to give all of their electoral votes to whoever wins the national popular vote. If they get enough states to join them, the object and purpose of the Electoral College will be defeated. Now, this isn't some far-off possibility. It's happening right now. Here's something that should concern all of us. The same Pew study that I mentioned earlier found that 80% of Democrats want to switch to a popular vote. Meanwhile, Republicans are split right down the middle. 53% want to keep the Electoral College, 46% want to change. Now think about that. Think what that means. One party almost unanimously wants to change the rules that have governed our republic for over 235 years. The other is on the fence. Let's look at the last election. You know how close it really was? Just 43,000 votes spread across 3 states determined who would be president of the United States. 43,000 votes in a nation of over 345 million people. And this happened despite a 7 million vote difference in the popular vote. Now, the Electoral College system makes it possible for a candidate to win the popular vote but lose in the Electoral College, and vice versa. On the other hand, landslides are still possible. Look at Reagan's victory over Mondale, where Mondale got only 13 Electoral College votes, Minnesota and the District of Columbia, and lost by over 17 million in the popular vote. The Brookings Institute recently showed us something remarkable. Just 17% of our land, 17% holds half of our population, because we mostly live on the coast and the Gulf, the East Coast, the West Coast, and the Gulf Coast. Even more striking, just 520 counties out of more than 3,000 counties in our nation generate 3/4 of our economic activity. Now, without the Electoral College, why would any candidate visit the other 2,500 counties? I mean, why would you? Why would you spend any time and money going there? This is where you come in. I understand the Electoral College isn't just about history. It's about your future, your children's future, the future of our republic. Look at what's happening right now. 2/3 of Americans want to change the system completely. In our last election, just 6 states decided who would be president. A mere 43,000 votes in 3 states determined the outcome. And 3/4 of our entire economic activity comes from less than 20% of our counties. So I ask you this, in a nation more divided than ever, do we really want to throw away a system that forces candidates to build broad coalitions? Should we risk letting a few populous regions determine every election? The Electoral College is very complex because America is very complex. Our founders created this system to protect minority rights and prevent regional domination and ensure broad coalition building. In today's divided America, these goals matter more than ever. Think about it. Talk about it. Share this episode with someone who needs to understand what's at stake. Tell us what you think. Let us know what you're thinking about these issues. We love hearing from you. Please join us next time when we will discuss the anatomy of hate and its effect on us as individuals and our relationships and its effect on our national affairs. Until then, God bless you and God bless America.